Senate dinner was in 1993, 19 years ago. It's a coincidence that after 19 years that I've been called upon to speak to the senators at the ASPAC Senate dinner in Hong Kong. 1993 World Congress in Hong Kong and 2012 ASPAC Senate dinner in Hong Kong. I do not know the reason why I have been selected to do the honors. The only reason that I can think of is that my immediate past president, when I was the world president, is Jennifer Yu. And her husband happens to be Sunny Yu. When I spoke in 1993, I was only 3 years after I finished my JCI office, because in 1990 I was the immediate past president. So 3 years later I was called upon to speak at the Senate dinner. But today, at that time I was still current. But today, after 23 years after my presidency, I have been called upon to do the same thing at the Senate dinner in Hong Kong. What can I say to this distinguished audience? An audience of individuals who have made a success in whatever they have done. After the presidential reception, we were seated together with Sunny, Graham, Scott, and Young Choi and Joseph Ship from Korea. Sunny was looking for a speaker to speak to the Koreans. And he said, Scott is speaking at the opening ceremony. Graham, I think, is the one who has to do the honors, because the other two past world presidents from Korea. And he said, Sameen, you are too serious, so I don't want you to speak. I was wondering why he said I was too serious. I wanted to ask him, but I didn't ask him. But I was thinking why he said I was too serious. The only reason that I can think of is in 1990, my successor was from the Dominican Republic, Jorge Sunca. He was a president who always said, "Don't worry, be happy." So I thought that maybe that is why he said I was a serious president, and my successor was a president he was an outstanding president, but he was always saying, "Don't worry, be happy." My message to you, my dear fellow senators, tonight is about your commitment to the organization and your gratitude towards the organization that you belong to. The Asian Pacific senators in this region have done exceptionally well in serving this organization, showing their gratitude to the organization that they belong to. When it comes to financial support to the JCI Foundation or sponsorships, it's always from the majority of the funds comes from our region. I am a product of Asia, and I am really happy that the senators in our region have always shown commitment and gratitude to the organization they belong to. Is that enough? I'm sure we can do better. Distinguished senators, I am what I am today because of the JCs. Whether it be in my business, in whatever I have done, it is because of the JCs. Whether it be the prestigious decoration from the Emperor of Japan last year, the Order of the Rising Sun, gold raised with Russell, it was because of the JCs. And I'm always indebted to this great organization for what I have achieved in everything I have done. I was a politician for 10 years. I was a provincial councillor of the Western Province in Sri Lanka. That too is because of the training I have got from the JCI. Everyone in this room will say the same thing. I am what I am because of this organization. The highest benefactor of this organization comes from the Asian Pacific region, Dr. Tan. He gave $1 million to the JCI Foundation, and he continues to do that. He now has given another set of ties for the foundation. He continues to support JCI. But is he the only one in the Asian Pacific region? I'm sure there are much more bigger Dr. Tans in this room. But we don't have many who has that feeling to share and to give. Apart from giving financial support, I think it is also important that there are times we are called upon to give even physical support to the young members. I can share with you my experience when in 2004, tsunami hit Sri Lanka. Every voluntary organization were carrying out projects, big projects. But JCs didn't do very much. But there was one project that stood out, and that was the school project in Sri Lanka. Dr. Tan gave $330,000 to build a school in Sri Lanka. But he had two conditions before he gave the $330,000. He said, Sameen, you have to be the chairman of that project. And you have to be the signatory to the bank account. I took over the job, and 1.5 years we built a school, 12 classrooms, an auditorium with 441 permanent seats. A project that was truly outstanding, and the JCs all over the world can be proud of what we did for tsunami. But the main point is, even though I did it, I was in the back. Never did I come forward to say that I was the one who was did the project. We won an Asian award, we won a world award. The national presidents of Sri Lanka, the president of Singapore, the senators, Dr. Tan, they all went on stage to get the award. But I never went on stage to get that award. The name of Dr. Tan, JCI Sri Lanka, JCI Singapore is engraved in several plaques in that school. But my name is never there in any place in that school. That is because I want to give credit to the organization, the JCs. And I think it is very important, we the senators, that sometimes we may be called upon to give our physical support, and we should give that to the young members. But we should always remember that we must give credit to the young members of our organization. I'd like to share something that I experienced yesterday. My son, who is here with me, is 17 years old. He's a national swimmer. He swims for the national team. And some of you all who are staying at the headquarters hotel would have seen that I'm always at the pool at 8 o'clock in the morning when the pool opens till 9:30, because my son is training for his swimming, because he has to do that. That's what his coach has said. Yesterday, when I was seated, there was a Korean lady who was seated about 2 seats next to me. She kept on moving from one seat, and then finally she came next to me, and she said, can you take a picture? I said yes, and I wanted to take the iPhone that she had. And then she said, no, I want to take a picture with you. I said, okay, and she took the picture. She held the camera and she took the picture of me and her together. And then she asked me, from which country you come from? I said, I'm from Sri Lanka. And I asked her from where she comes from. She said, I'm from Korea. She doesn't speak so good English, but she was trying to communicate with me. And then I asked her, also, you have come here from Korea. Are you alone? She said, no, I'm with my husband. I didn't like the answer. She wanted to know my age. Then I asked her, what do you think? She said, 30? I said, no, I'm not 30. 40? No. I said, I'm not 40. Then she said, 50? No, I'm much more. Huh? Yes, I said, I'm 61. This young boy who is swimming in the pool is my son. He's 17 years old. But you look very young. I said, yes, I look very young because I'm always with the young people of this great organization called the JCI. Fellow JCIs, I know you are waiting for the next course, so I don't want to take much of your time. I was only given 10 minutes by Sunny. But when I was introduced, I was told that I have attended 41 JCI conferences. It was not 45 ASPACs, it was 41 area conferences, 28 world congresses, 69 conferences and congresses in all. So that's a lot of money to put towards attending a conference or a congress. But whenever I attend a conference or a congress, there are young JCs who come up to me and say, we are inspired by your presence. That makes me feel that my attendance is of some benefit to the young members of the organization. I even bring my family. As and whenever possible, I bring my family along because I want them to share this great organization. Sometimes there are some constraints when you come with your children. My son, 2 days ago at the luncheon, I got caught with the Korean bomb. And she went back to the room, he went back to the room and spoke to the mother on Skype and said, Dada is taking beer. So there are some constraints. And today at the luncheon he said, you took mine. I said, no, I just sipped it. But nevertheless, I think it is important to bring your children, to show them, share with them this great organization called JCI. In Sendai, in 2002, I know an experience that I will never forget. I was with my wife, my daughter, and my son, who was much more younger at that time, and we were at the national parties. And my daughter was there, she was pretty young at that time, and I went early to bed, and I went to sleep. I got up a little past after 12, and I found that she has still not come back. I got up, changed, went back to where the parties were, and I found my daughter with the JCI World President of Switzerland, George Buarat, and a few JCs from the Philippines and Australia. And George Buarat, no sooner he saw me, he said, President Sameen, you are coming looking for your daughter. I said, yes, because I don't trust the JCs in the night. I know what I did when I was young. So I don't want to make sure, I want to make sure that my daughter does not have the same problem with what I used to do in the past. Fellow JCs, this organization needs you now. You don't need the organization, but the JCI organization needs you now. You know, at the Osaka World Congress, the current president, Roland, said, we are dying. He will never say that. He said, I will never say it in front of the young members. But the fact is, we need you, and we need you today. And the organization needs you very badly. Fellow JCs, I know in the 80s we had a great time. In 1989, the ASPAC in Yokohama, 16,650 delegates. 3 years later, in 1992, in Kitakyushu, Tomizawa-san was the conference director, 18,000 delegates. Will we ever get back to what we were in the 80s? I think we can, if all of us can support the organization. They need you, and we will continue to support. Fellow JCs, I think I have spoken enough, and I want to conclude my speech. I wish I can speak to the younger members rather than the distinguished audience, because they know everything. But I'm very grateful for you and the HongKong JCI, the Senate, for having given me this opportunity to speak to this distinguished audience. Thank you very much, and let's all hope that the organization will go forward. Thank you very much.